We're always talking about corrections and crashes, but today, looking at the auctions from the last episode, there's some bright spots, so we're going to talk about those. Plus, we have a big bright spot. We have Nicole Johnson joining us. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Haggerty Marketplace, and more. Well, sorry, I cut out of the opening. Sorry about that, guys. You guys know how the song goes anyway. Welcome to Bid Nerds. It's a brand new episode. We are getting going. Usually we use that minute to kind of collect ourselves and get things happening. My name's John Polnick. We're coming to you live from the downtown Las Vegas Container Park at the Rami Studio, along with my partner Michael Deeb in San Francisco, and of course the lovely and Nicole Johnson from Nicole Johnson's Detour. How are you guys?
Hey. I'm good. You guys good?
Yeah. Hey, Nicole, how are you? We did all the nuts and bolts pre-show, and I didn't actually even say hello to you yet. Hi, Nicole. Welcome. Thank you for coming back.
Hi. I've decided that next time I will only bring cookies if you're ever going to be live here in Container Park.
Okay, September 22nd is a Sunday evening, and I promise I will be there. That is going to be fun. So if you're in town, that would be awesome. We could collaborate.
That would be cool.
Yes. I was looking forward to snacks, but apparently that didn't happen. But that's okay. That's all right.
Tasty snacks happen at my house, but they got
Nicole,
consumed.
You're gonna have to reframe that, because if JP thinks the reason why he didn't get snacks is because I got in the way because I wasn't there, it's all going to be my fault. We're like an angry couple, John and I.
Fired. He's fired.
We had banana muffins at my house. And I warned you, I had some ripe bananas.
Another euphemism. Stop it.
Yeah. All right. Ripe bananas. There it is. All right. If you are joining the show tonight for the first time, you're here because of Nicole. Thank you and welcome. If you are a part of the Nerd Herd and the original Nerd Nation, also thank you and welcome. Thanks for being here, you guys. For the new people, though, what this show is, we find the most interesting listings from like Cars and Bids, Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, Haggerty Marketplace, and more. We find those most interesting listings. We talk about the listings, we analyze the listings, and we make predictions. What will happen at the end of those individual respective auctions? We make those predictions. A lot of fun. You can play along with us. It's like The Price is Right. You can play along in the comments, or if you're watching live in the chat right now, and we encourage you to do that. Introduce yourself in the chat if you're hanging out watching the show live. Lots of great people in the Nerd Herd every week. Lots of good friends in there. And before we get to reconciling our incorrect predictions from the last episode, just want to give a shout out to our good friends at Godden Classic and Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you're looking for a classic Porsche or parts for one, give them a holler. And also, if you're going, hey, look at that, they're almost on time today, that's because we had our fine Swiss watches repaired and serviced at Our Smiths. Our Smiths is fine Swiss repair. All right, let's get this going.
Wait. Lucas says, what's with the non-catastrophic title? Yeah, JP, did you have a good day? What's going on, man? Where's the fire and brimstone?
Well, I mean, typically we get about half the views when I don't have something that's like the end is nigh. But we also get more views when Nicole joins us. So I figured it would offset a little bit. We could go with something a little bit more rosy tonight. So we'll see how it works. We'll see. We'll watch
the control group. The control group for this experiment.
Exactly.
I'm picking up what you're dropping. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, and if you're watching on Instagram, I've got Instagram Live going here, guys. If you're watching on Instagram, go to YouTube. We're live on YouTube, and you can hear everything. You can hear Nicole Johnson. You can hear Michael Deeb, if you even want to do that. And you can see the pictures of the cars that we're talking about. So go on YouTube right now. We are live there, and I'm going to kill this Instagram here in a minute. All right, let's get this going. What was the first car on the list from the last episode, Michael Deeb?
JP, I'm sorry. I'm cracking up.
Drinking soda here.
Yeah, I'm cracking up. So our first car was this very interesting built 1999 Porsche. This is the first year of the 996 generation. So this is a Carrera 4 Coupe, a 6-speed manual with the X51 package, and about another 20-something lines of options. I mean, seriously, no joke. This thing's got like over 24 factory options on it. So it's an incredible, interesting car and interesting build. However, Porsche or PCAR Market is advertising this car as a factory owned, but with nothing to back up that claim that it was factory owned car. They are endorsing a story that the car was built by the factory and that the factory slapped a GT3 badge on this to give folks a preview of what the 996 Gen 1 GT3 was going to look like. This was a factory owned show car, according to the claims. But there's nothing to verify that, nothing to back it up, which made it very, very interesting. Again, the car itself is a ZZZ overseas VIN. It's not a domestic market car. Again, allegedly this was built by the factory to be kept in-house as a show car. The car is currently showing 35,800 kilometers, which is around, I think, 24,000 miles, I remember reading. The car is located in Summit, New Jersey. God, now I forget, but it's on a New Jersey title. Yeah, well, it's out of New Jersey, so I'm not sure what title it's on, but it's allegedly on a domestic title. So we did our bids, Nicole, on this car, and obviously the big argument was, how do you make these claims if you can't substantiate them? You can't say it's a factory-owned car if you can't prove it's a factory-owned car. That is the distillation of the argument that we had on the show. And not with each other, but really the argument against how the car is represented. I still thought with the options and the low miles, whether it was factory owned or not, it made for a very interesting car. So I went big and said $120,000. JP really was really upset and thought that most people would be upset. And so JP bid kind of with his head and his heart and went $69,996. That's, holy moly, I can't do the math. That's 50 grand below us. And then we had Ingo Schmolt from Ganau here in the Bay Area that represents cars on his own and shows them on BAT, does photography, and just super nice guy. Great third nerd. Shout out to Ingo. Ingo was with us as third nerd and gave us the bid of $88,000. Now, Nicole, I'm going to throw you right to the fire with this one. Obviously, the bids are all over the board. The top value for a C4 in 99, the top value is 60 grand. So even at JP's $70,000, that's 10 grand above the top of the market. What do you think this car would have hammered for on PCAR Market?
Well, before I tell you that, I want to know how influential Bid Nerds is. If you guys are speculating some BS going on, does anybody else watch that, check it out? Like, what is actually going on in these claims? Can you substantiate whether or not this factory kind of option was real? Is it not real? And did it affect any of the bidding? Do you know any of that first?
Well, let's see. So the factory options are real. As the car is laid out with 24 options, those options are on the car. Whether or not the car was designed for a dealership or for a individual, or if it was built for the factory to be a claim show car to preview a different model, that we couldn't figure out. But gauging reactions, which JP was able to do. JP not only engaged with the auction platform by commenting on the bids prior to Hammer and challenging some of the commenters to what they were speculating or going along with. JP received remarks from his colleagues in the space who were equally as upset about the way the car was represented. And of course, Chris Carbine, who's a big supporter of the show and is on with us live. Chris called me to talk about the Hammer and was amused by watching JP challenge people in the comments. So, Nicole, yes, people were outraged. This listing got under a lot of people's skins.
Look, the issue with this car wasn't whether or not the options were legit. There are a couple options that I still don't think are legit.
And you're probably right. The speaker grills.
The speakers being yellow and the center console being the stereo surround being yellow is not part of the center console being yellow. That the center console is something that the factory did do, but they never color matched the stereo surround. But that's really not what's being questioned here. What's being questioned here, my good friend Kelly Smith, who is a friend of the show, he hit me up. He was like, "This is just look." I'm going to just straight up read his text. Kelly, I hope you don't mind. And he is in the comments right now. Kelly, if you got a problem with me saying what you texted me, now's the time to tell me. Otherwise, because I think what Kelly said was great, and I can't say it any better. He's like, we go through an entire auction where the first sentence, written by PCAR Market themselves, says, quote, "This car was owned by Porsche AG and internally configured as a preview vehicle for the upcoming 911 GT3, end quote." Kelly continues by saying, "And these shit stains haven't produced one single shred of evidence. Not one. This is what they think of their readers. You can just make stupid shit up, and people are gullible enough to fall for it." He goes on quite a bit more, but I could not agree with him more. This is just complete, it's just nonsense. If you're going to make a claim like that, it's, again, P-Car Market. Look, it's time to use the P-Car Market sucks graphic. We built it for a reason, people. P-Car Market continues to do these unforced errors. This car by itself, standalone, with all the options from the factory, we saw that option sheet list. It is an incredible and rare C4, a 99 C4, with lots of great stuff. This car should be worth something, and should be worth, not just worth something, but be worth way more than your average C4 from 1999. It should stand on its own. But when P-Car Market leads with a freaking bald-faced lie, in my opinion, they make the whole rest of the listing, everything else is suspect. There's no reason to cause such a big problem. You could suggest that it may have been done that way. You could say, okay, here's this great car, here's all the cool options, and we think the reason why it was done is because we heard this. And then people can have a conversation in good faith about that. But to lead first sentence in the ad, no, not one shred of evidence, guys, not one sheet of paper, not even an email or a text from Porsche or someone saying, no, it's just, we're going to make up this story. And I don't know, maybe the story's true, but you can't say this stuff without backing it up. It's just maddening, and it didn't just tick me off, it ticked off a lot of other people. And one more thing before I pass it off back to you guys. Chris Carbine hits me up, he's going, "Why are you trying to sabotage this poor guy's auction listing?" He didn't say that exactly, but that's what he meant. And I'm like, look, the seller of this car, I believe, is complicit, because if this were my car and P-Car Market took it upon themselves to represent me and my listing with an outright lie, I wouldn't just sit there and, well, that lie benefits me, so I'm just going to sit back and pretend. Like, all these people are asking the question, can somebody substantiate this in the comments? And they just ignored it. And by the way, there wasn't any photos of the underside of this car, by the way, too. So I don't know. What do you guys think of this just BS shenanigans, in my opinion, of what P-Car Market pulled off? Nicole?
I think that by bringing it to people's attention, at least that there was some conversation going into it. So buyer beware, right? Buyers can make up their own mind on all of this. I think the low miles is impressive. I think it's it's horrible color. I don't like the wheels. Just personally telling you, I don't like the car. It's super flashy pants. I don't like it at all. And all the dumb yellow stuff in the center console, I would be like distracted with in my peripheral seeing all this yellow. So that's just my opinion. I don't like it at all. However, I recognize that there are people who like this kind of stuff. And maybe it's like that dumb America one that we saw a couple weeks ago, where it's like, oh, this is a special one and nobody's going to drive it ever because look, nobody has driven it. It has low miles on it. I do not think it's going to get six figures. I am going to say that somebody was dumb enough to pay $81,000 for it.
Hey, that's a good bid, Nicole. You're right in the money range. Our car hammered for $85,000 where it sold on 25 bids. JP, right after the $85,000 was bid, the seller came onto the platform to say that the reserve was off and the car would sell. You have to wonder for a split second if they were talked into pulling the reserve because they were like, "Hey, man, this might be it," or if it had naturally hit the reserve and he just let us know, that kind of thing. But anyway, so yeah, as soon as it hit 85, reserve was off. A couple of comments, and then the car hammered at $85,000. So first of all, John, take away the claim that this was a factory spec car and was supposed to be the preview car for the GT3. Do you think $85,000 for a 996 low mileage gray market car with a laundry list of cool options, including X50, 51, and Aero Kit, is worth that kind of money.
I mean, I don't personally think it should be, but I think clearly the market's spoken. Most of the action was very late. It was sitting there for a while, and then a lot of newcomers came in and tried to kind of like snipe at the end. So it was an interesting auction to watch. I actually think that the car could be worth more to someone. Again, I'm with Nicole. I don't really love the car. There's a lot to like here in the sense that it does have all the cool GT3 aero stuff, but the color is too flashy and all the a little yellow goes a long way, and there's way too much yellow on this car.
Right.
But whatever. We know that Porsche buyers are idiots when it comes to color and special doodads and rare stuff. And so in that respect, this thing should be worth over $100,000 because Porsche buyers are stupid. I mean, especially Porsche collectors. They like weird stuff like this.
Interesting.
It may not actually provide any value. Another thing that Kelly mentioned too is that it was really annoying how it seemed like there were shills on the comment section on PCAR that were like trying to shame anyone that was asking about, asking for proof of this whole, special Porsche AG car.
Somebody came down your road about your 996 that was spec'd to look like a GT3, but there were no.
That was the thing. Because someone's like, "Oh, look at all these options. This car was clear." That somehow, holds the story up. It's like, no, which one of those options says Porsche delivery, options? None of that doesn't exist. And I brought my car up as an example that I sold on PCAR Market like 3 years ago. It was a GT3 clone, and it had a lot of options, including the GT3 factory aero kit from the factory. I could have just said, this was the first one for before the actual GT3 came out, and Porsche AG owned this car, which means this is a one-of-one car, and it's very special. And PCAR Market would have been like, yeah, let's run with that fake ass story, and maybe I would have made more money. But you
should have sold it as the factory bid nerd shotgun commercial car.
That's what I should have done. No, that's a 997 nerd.
Opinionated nerds.
Yeah, Nicole, what do you think of that result? Do you think it's that was? I mean, you bid
kind of. I never looked at the actual auction. I only had watched your old episode to know about the car, and hey, I think it went for what I said. I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah, you are pretty good at this.
It's
kind of aggro.
I'm just throwing darts, and some of them stick. I'm not actually good at this.
Yeah. JP, pull up that 04 Porsche 911 GT3 that was on Bring a Trailer. This car closed the other day as well. John, I want to remind you, this car was listed by a friend of ours, Nate. And Nate, I'm going to butcher your last name because it's not written in front of me.
This one hasn't closed yet. It's closed.
No. Sorry. The 04 GT3 on Bring a Trailer. It is 2 lines down on the sheets from it was a car we didn't cover. So Nate in Vegas brought this car to Cars und Cafe in Las Vegas. He was selling, it's his car. He was selling it himself out of Henderson, Nevada. We did not cover this car, but basically a 50,000 mile real GT3 sold today on Bring a Trailer for $115,000. And at a glance, you could be forgiven for thinking these cars are relatively similar. I think if you're uninitiated, a real Porsche guy would be able to tell the difference in a New York minute. But I thought that was an interesting comparison. And although we didn't cover your car, Nate, congratulations on selling your car. And then, John, if you would slide over to that other.
Can I mention something about this, though?
Yeah, please.
I don't think this is an apples to apples comparison at all.
Fair.
Because this is a .2 GT3. They did bring these into America. This is the upgraded car. This is a way better car. But the .1 GT3s, even though they don't look as good as the .2s, like, this one has the correct amount of yellow, not yellow freaking everywhere. But aside from that the .1 is an absurdly rare car, whereas this .2, how many of these were there? 1,000, 900,
1,300.
Yeah. So there are plenty of these around, and 100 to 140 seems to be the going rate depending on miles, condition, and color. But and then this 90, this one.
This is interesting.
Is closer to the one that we're talking about. Here's a 49,000 mile 99, 911 coupe. This is a C2, right? This one's not a C4.
C2 manual, but as you were alluding to, JP, this car is optioned strikingly similar in that it has about 20 lines of options on it from the factory. No bold claims about this car being factory spec'd for the factory. This, I think, was a customer car and a U.S. version, but aero kit and cool wheels and a bunch of other stuff. This is a highly optioned car, which is to say, you never know. So
this
don't believe everything you read.
It on BAT. Should have made up. Oh, this is the first one that Porsche AG owned that was going to be what the silver ones were going to look like, and you could have just made up a BS story with that. And our market would have run with it. All right, let's move on.
We'll have to come back to this car on the following show just to see the result of it. We're not going to bid on it, but it's got 4 days to go, and it's at $20,000. It does have twice the miles, but it'll be interesting to see what it hammers for on the other platforms. So just fodder. I know we spent a lot of time on that lot, but it was arguably the most interesting car we've covered in a while, and we've covered some good ones.
What do you guys think of the results of that shadily a word? I'm going to make it a word. Shadily presented P-Car Market GT3 wannabe. Was that a bunch of BS, or do you think the story is true and you're totally cool with P-Car Market running with the fake news? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And like everyone is saying in the comments in the chat right now, welcome to a lot of people going, hey, it's cool that Nicole's here. Why is she slumming with these two yahoos? Nobody knows.
Had nothing better to do on a Wednesday.
I mean, who does really? That's really what does it. We'll take it. All right, let's move on to the next car that we made a prediction on. We'll try to move through the predictions pretty quick, or the reconciliations from the predictions pretty quick from here on out. What do we got?
All right, JP. We had Ingo Schmult from Genau in the Bay Area as our third nerd on the previous show. We pandered to our host and covered a car that he was representing for a client here in the Bay Area. This is a 1969 Porsche 912 Coupe. We believe that this is the first year of the long wheelbase for the 912, and this particular car has been owned by the same family for 52 years. So fascinating stuff. 1.6 liter car. It's been repainted in its original shade of burgundy red. The car had been color changed, but somebody, Ingo, went on to tell the story about how somebody had purchased the car and decided to bring it back to its original sort of colorway and specification, and the result is what you see here, a little bit older restoration, but the car looks fantastic, and nicely represented by our third nerd and guest host, Ingo. So super nice car, JP. I will jump right in. I gave the bidding at $65,000. You took a very gentle under at just $62,000, and of course, Ingo recused himself from bidding. Before you give us a number, Nicole, do you believe in Bid Nerd Mojo? And do you even know what Bid Nerd Mojo is?
I don't. I'm not that nerdy.
What the hell is Bid Nerd Mojo?
What's Bid Nerd Mojo? I'm not that nerdy. You got to get me that nerdy, guys.
Oh, okay. So go ahead and give me your number, and then I'll explain what Bid Nerd Mojo is.
I have to give you your number? My phone number?
No, give me your bid on this car. What do you think it hammered for on Bring a Trailer the other day?
Well, before I give you my bid, I want to say that I know JP wishes he had this car because his 912 is so sad now.
Too soon.
So sad.
Too soon, Nicole. Nicole's got salt and gauze and just rubbing it with the...
Poor guy. Look at his face. Look at that face.
P-Car Market sucks, and JP's got a pout face.
JP has a broken car.
Yeah.
My 912 is a bit broken, yes.
That is really good. Now, am I getting this one confused, or is this one is this what belonged to the undersecretary? Is this that car?
Yes.
Oh, you're a big fan of the undersecretary.
The non-famous undersecretary that tried to be famous enough to get the price up. I think it's a really cool car. I like that it's a driver. It's not perfect, and it's I don't know. Okay, what was it at on Sunday? Tell me what the bids were on Sunday.
I can't. I mean, we used to keep a column for that, but we have so many guests, we lost the column.
Well, you can see everyone's bid though below you there, Nicole. Do you see? I have it on the screen right now. Andy's at 56. Anthony's at 59. I mean, it goes basically.
I want to say it was at 40 something when we saw it.
Michael S was the high at 72. and looks like no one was lower than 56.
That's really ambitious for a 912. Let's just say that. It is very ambitious for a 912. So I'm going to be a jerk and say it only got to like 49.5. I'm a total jerk.
49.5. And Nicole, I understand you're bidding with the reputation of the model, but what I talk about Bid Nerds Mojo is when JP and I cover a car and then the car does better than expected. And so when I ask you if you're a believer, I was leaving you Easter eggs so that you could raise your bid, because this mother chicken and Ingo, we deserve all the credit for having this car on the show. This mother chicken hammered for $93,000 where it sold on a whopping 60 bids. The Bid Nerd Mojo is real. You are a believer. You get a lunch pail. You get a lunch pail. You get a beanie. You get a Speedo. JP, I mean, was it just
crazy, guys? That's
JP,
a lot of money.
Was it just us, John? Was it like, did somebody in the herd buy this car? That's incredible.
Hey, I'll take credit for it if he wants to send us a commission.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, Ingo. Good job on this.
Ingo,
I am
damn,
ecstatic.
dude.
This is the best news I've gotten all day, considering that I have a 912 whose engine blew up recently. By the way, shout out to the Nerd Herd. If anyone has a 2-liter Type 4, hit me up in the DMs. I need to buy one. Literally, I need an engine because mine is kaput.
Plugging
Whole
your agenda.
Other story. But I gotta tell you, this bodes. Look, mine's not nearly as nice as this one. Mine's more of a hot rod. Mine's a 68, so it's a short wheelbase. This is a 69. So for this car, for a non-short wheelbase long hood 912, I cannot believe that this car brought $90,000, and it's great. It's a beautiful original car, and I'm glad to see that it did, because maybe if I can clean mine up, I'd be happy with a lot less than that, even after I spring for a new engine here soon. But I will be selling mine after all this. What do you think of that? This is crazy. It's crazy time.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, Ingo is in the chat and he goes, "Hey, that's us. How'd we do?" I like how he's
like
just
you didn't know. He
coy.
just tuned into the show to find out. Yeah.
He just woke up from like 5 days in Vegas. He's
that's
like,
the thing.
Whoa.
Even the people that sold the car have to go watch Bid Nerds to really know what's up. All right. What do you guys think of the results of this amazing, beautiful 912 Porsche 1969? Was 90-something grand, all the money in the world? Talk about a bright spot. We opened up this show talking about how there are still some bright spots in the classic car market. And if ever there was an example of a car way outperforming, this is it. So great job to Ganau and the team over there that got this car not just over the finish line, but just like miles past it. So that's awesome. All right, let us know what you think in the comments below. And there's a bunch of nerds hanging out in the Nerd Herd. There's more of you than I see thumbs up. So let's get some thumbs up, guys, in the comments so we can kind of get more people watching. This is a good time. All right, what's the next car on the list?
All right, JP, just hitting the like button for myself. All right, here we go. The third car of the day was sent to us by a few people, but this is the 1990 Porsche 911 Carrera 2 Coupe, referred to as the murder car. This car is listed on Cars and Bids and was running as a no reserve auction out of Seattle, Washington by Dobson Stuttgart. JP, are you familiar with that house, Dobson Stuttgart? Have you heard of them prior?
People were asking if I knew them, but I
don't that's interesting. I never thought to ask you that, even though I was trying to drop knowledge that I recognized Mount Rainier in the background of the hero shot. JP, this was the car that they has very, very interesting provenance. It was a car that was stolen and then used by those thieves to go around the area, I think was Oregon, where they stole some more things. And then one of those thefts had gone wrong, where the thieves who stole this car, while driving this car to steal another car, encountered the owner of that other car and got into a conflict that related in a mortality. The car was then recovered.
That was the longest way ever of saying these guys murdered someone.
Yeah, that, because we're on a time crunch. So anyways, anyway, this car got recovered. They used the car to find the thieves because it's so distinctive. It was interesting to find out that the thieves, JP, you remember, had done oil changes and serviced the car. Plus, they spent money to get it detailed. They love this thing. So they found the car in good condition. If not, all the maintenance was up to date. Our car's running no reserve, showing 115,000 miles. And the big speculation was, despite having a branded title with a theft recovery that will follow this car around, will the provenance of this car, no matter how dark it is, still carry it to a higher value than the market should dictate? JP, I believe that would be the case, so I gave you a bid of $110,000, which would probably represent more than this car should be worth. Despite you saying everyone should stay the F away from this car, there's so much bad mojo associated with this car, and because of what the car in some symbolic way represents, should stay away from it. You gave us a bid over me at $115,000, and Ingo went higher still at $118,000. Nicole, it sounds like you watched the show. I know you understand the car. What do you think this car would hammer for, running no reserve on cars and bids despite its provenance?
First of all, I think somebody sees it as an opportunity. There might be thinking other people, oh, I don't want that car. Well, fine. There is a guy who does want that car. And I don't think that's going to stop the buyer. But I don't think it's going to get up to over 100. That's kind of dumb. I personally think 90 even. Right at 90.
Nicole, you're so good at this. We got to stop
No, I'm
having you
not.
on the show.
I sucked at that
Ruining
912.
ratings.
I sucked at that
We
912.
all sucked at the 912. None of us
Yeah.
got that one.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm happy for that 912 because I have a 911 and I just hope it brings all the ships up, you know?
JP, our car hammered for $88,464 where it's sold on 40 bids. I would say that is more a reflection of the car than the story. Would you agree with that? And I want to say something before you sign off to go to commercial. So I got one more last piece for you.
This car, I am happy, did not reach the number that I thought it would. To me, this reflects the fact that people are kind of are a little skeezed by this car. I get that there is that person out there that sees this as an opportunity, and that's the person that I think is a bad person, because you're the person that has to live with the fact that this is the car that everyone's going to know is the murder car. Look, here's another thing to think about, that this car has a salvage title, as a theft recovery title. In order to get that nomenclature on your title, that means the insurance company had to pay out the owner of this car. And then the owner had to buy it back. Typically, that's what happens when you have a car essentially totaled. And that's how the brand happens. So to me, it kind of feels like the owner of the car is double dipping on tragedy. I, for one, if I were going to buy this car back, I would have just completely disassembled it and sold out and just, parted out the car, because then that kind of dispels the car into the four corners of the world, just kind of dispenses it, and that just erases the whole murder thing altogether. Or let the insurance company do that, or crush it, or whatever. The owner of the car was made whole from an insurance company, and they decided to double dip, and I think that's even more despicable, in my opinion. Nicole, what do you think?
I think you're being too dramatic. It's just a car. Come on. You're being way too dramatic over your crybaby. Just drive the car and take it home for 88.
I wanted to part it out so I could buy the murder engine, apparently. Yeah.
You're being
not enough
sissy.
sage in the world.
You're being a sissy. Just I don't. It's,
I mean, would you say that to the people who got killed? Like,
were
to
they
their
killed
family?
in the car?
They were killed
in the car.
I mean, not in the car, but the guy got out of this car, killed someone. Would you go to the family and go, it's not the murder car, because they weren't in the car?
They weren't in the car. If there was actual stabbings and blood and splatters and DNA, then maybe. But that's not what happened.
It could have been. If you shoot someone point blank, you're probably going to have blood all over you. So they're going to get in this car, and there might still be dead people DNA. Just saying.
Listen.
Oh, man.
Don't want anything to do with it.
I'm not a total I'm not a total jerk, but come on. You're being a sissy.
Would you have bought this car?
If I had $90,000 and I liked a red car, maybe. I think it's flashy pants.
It's too flashy pants. She's like, I'm okay with the flashy pants is too much, but dead people, no problem.
No problem.
No, it's all good. All right, what do you guys think of the results of the murder car? Yeah,
JP, one last piece for context. after all the dust settles, the 912 sold for $93,000, which was the highest price of the 3 cars we covered. It brought more than the fake factory GT3 and more than the murder car hot as balls 964 C2 manual. The 912 outdid them all. Way to go, Ingo.
It helps to not lie in your listing or have someone murdered in the history of the car. Those two things generally bad for your auction. So the bright spots in the market these days is don't try to sell a car that was used for murder, and don't lie explicitly in the first line of your listing, and you'll do just fine. Cars are still being sold out there. All right, anything else you wanted to say before we go to commercial break?
No, thank you, JP.
That was it. Okay, we're going to be right back with all new predictions right after this. Stick around, guys. It's not going to be long. Hey guys, I got to tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you got to call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't... Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. And we are back for more tears from your host, JP. That's me. I'm crying over here. I'm a little baby who's sad because my engine blew up. Seriously, guys, if you know someone's got a 2-liter Type 4, I actually need one. This is not
because you got screwed, literally.
I did. I should show that video. The video of the screw in the cylinder is just awesome.
Hey, JP, can we hurry the show along? I got a bolt.
All right, you're fired. You're both fired. I'm going to do the show all by myself. No one's going to watch. Everybody hates you. It's the Ish on JP show. Welcome back, guys. We're having a lot of fun tonight, making fun of my bad luck and also making predictions on listings on P-Car Market, Cars and Bids, Bring a Trailer, Haggerty, and more. We've got some really cool cars. It's interesting cars tonight, actually. And that is the point of this show, right? It's the most interesting cars from all the auction sites.
We did that. Yeah.
Let's get to it. Let's get to some predictions. What's the first car on the list?
All right, JP. I love it when Doug DeMiro covers a Lamborghini. It's such a bull in a china shop. No pun to Santa Agata implied, but it sort of worked. Doug DeMiro, Cars and Bids, have currently a 1998 Lamborghini Diablo SV, 24,000 miles, gated 5-speed manual. The SV upgrades the standard 5.7 liter V12. Thank you. Sorry. From 485 horsepower, the SV brings that number up to 510. These are rear wheel drive. This car is reviewed by Doug DeMiro, listed out of San Diego, California. Just a really, really neat car. And Doug does not do a lot of supercars, but the few supercars that he's done quite well. So I thought this would be a very interesting car to look at and take a peek, see how he's doing with the higher end of his client base. And JP, come on, look at the hood scoop, the scoops over the top of this thing, feeding each bank's intake on that motor. This is a really cool, incredible analog car. Something I would love to drive, but I would not want to own. And JP, it's black. Come on, man. It's got the Polnick package. This is a super cool car. Now, Rami, we come to you live from the Rami studio. Rami Mirza used to own, is it the Aventador that he just had that was an SV?
He had an SVJ Aventador, yeah.
SVJ Aventador, which is essentially the godson or the grandchild of this car. But this model... the SV logo as the highest spec of performance goes all the way back to the Miura as far as sort of mid-engine 12-cylinder Lamborghini. So this is an iconic car. I was trying to see if Doug would tell us how many of these that they built, and I did not find that number. But JP, I will hand this gently over to you to take a peek at and tell me what you think while I read to see if we have any idea of just how actually rare this car is. I bet you they only made a few.
This has definitely got all the redwood squeeze. Somebody's asking, who was asking? Looks like Brian was asking the question, is the SV on the side, is that factory? Is that the logo that they used back then as well? Okay, yeah, because I didn't know the answer to that either. I was curious. Are those wheels factory?
Yep.
Those are the factory wheels too. Yeah, this car looks really good. I don't like the SV on the side. I like the SV, the little teeny SV badge. I think that's enough. I don't really like it when manufacturers go a little nuts with the graphic, and I don't think it's an attractive graphic that looks good on the side of the car. It just doesn't fit the space from a graphic design point of view. It's a very odd choice and surprising for the Italians to make such an odd decision when it comes to that kind of design decision. But the other design cues, like the scoops and everything else that you were mentioning, I think is great. This is all the 90s all the time, and would love to own one of these. Never driven one, and maybe one of these days I'll get a chance. Nicole, have you ever driven one? What do you think of the SV?
No, my first impression when I saw it, I thought it was the Supercar Blondie logo. Like the SB is hideous. It's like such a flex. Like, I am driving an SB. I think it is the dumbest part of this car. Now the rear tail lights look really cool. I love that 90s looking, those rear tail. I like how the rear end looks. But personally, it would totally devalue it, and yet I would rip off the stickers. That'd be the first thing I did is if I own this car, rip off the SV. That is the dumbest part of this car. Who wants that on their car? Oh,
it's so true. You know, I wonder if you could like take black vinyl and put it over the top of the SV, just to cover it up so you could keep the original. I don't know, man. Yeah, it does look terrible. But it does kind of remind you, the people that like those badges, and we have had. There's a famous guy that showed up to Cars and Cafe here in Vegas a couple of years ago in an SVJ Aventador, not unlike the one that Rami had, and he wanted to beat my ass, man. He was pissed because he showed up revving his engine, and I came out like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I'm like, "Get out of here, leave! You can't rev." There's, and he
wrong
was just
show.
Like, yeah, you are not in the right place. This is not exotics on Cannery Row where all the douchebags show up with their with their Lambos that they just bought them with their crypto bro money. It's like we get not mean tweets, but mean comments every now and then. Most of the comments in our videos are usually great. We get a lot of people, giving their own feedback on cars and listings and stuff, or telling us that, hey, they love the show, that kind of thing. But every now and then there was a comment on that murder car video from last week where this guy's like, I watched the show for 6 whole minutes and they didn't talk at all about this car there's no mention of whatever this murder thing is. This is just clickbait crap. And I own a GT3. I'm the kind of guy that they should want watching my show. I'm just like, okay, that's unfortunately, when you have that big SV on the side, that's the kind of guy that attracts, that this car attracts. And there's just no way to be subtle in a Lambo like this. All right, what's this thing going to bring, Deep?
All right, JP, I did find a little bit of information. They made Diablos for 11 years. They produced 2,800 of them, roughly, of the first generation of the SV like this. Oh, dude, I did the wrong number. VT, never mind. All right, I'll get to that later. Okay, so our car is sitting at $278,000 on 9 bids, and it closes tomorrow. JP, there are not very many of these that come up for sale. I could only find about 3 or 4 comps that actually sold, and a couple more that were listed and failed to sell over the last couple of years as the auctions have really proliferated. On paper, this car should be worth $320,000. It's got a few miles on it, but I don't know. They're just so rare. JP, I actually think Doug is close enough where he sits that he will get there. So I'm going to give you $320,000 and for once not second guess my bid and change it at the last minute. So $320,000 to you, John. We're at 278 right now, but just 9 bids. Do you think it's going to go over or under me?
Yeah, I mean, with less than a day to go, we say this all the time with Doug, we never see late stage rallies. If this were on BAT and it was sitting at 2.5 the day before, we'd be looking at on the last day probably getting to close to 500. But that is not the case when it comes to cars and bids. Maybe there's a little bit of a rally at the end, but it's not going to double. I don't even know if it's going to get to 300. The big question, it's interesting, at 300, give or take, the Aventador SVJ, the modern cars, all the really modern Lambos and Ferraris and stuff are really taking a bath when it comes to what's going on in the market. That's probably where we're seeing the biggest corrections, is those cars that were, 900,000, 800,000 or whatever a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now they're lucky to get 500,000. I mean, they've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. Whereas it seems like this car, being a bright spot in the market, these Diablos are actually still kind of going up, and it'll be interesting to see as the Aventadors go down and the Diablos come up. How at some point will it be like air-cooled 911s being more valuable than water pumper 911s? For the longest time, that just wasn't the case, and then that happened in the market. So, anyways, I'm going to say $299.99 and pass it off to Nicole.
Nicole, I want to give you one tidbit.
Okay.
Nearly 2,900 Diablos, only 346 SVs were built. So it is a very rare car by the numbers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. And because it's an SV, somebody out there is going to pay more. I mean, I think a Diablo in really excellent condition is what? Excellent to Concours, maybe 350, maybe 400. I don't know. But I honestly feel like because it's an SV, despite the hideous logo on the side, that it's going to do well. I am frustrated that it only has 9 bids, though. That's not a lot of competition. I just don't know. But I'm going to say that two guys are going to duke it out, and it's going to get up to $339.
$339. JP, give me your bid again. I'm sorry, I was still reading the numbers for Nicole and
Two
the
with
herd.
a bunch of nines.
Two with a bunch of nines. Okay, yeah. I'll do nines. All right, cool. So $299.99 and $339.99. So there's some interesting bids in the herd. Randy B said $380. I feel like these are on the move. And Randy, that's not bad. But Randy, some other ones have come to market with a lot less miles. 24,000 miles is the reason why I don't think it gets to your number. Brian is at $298. Michael at $303. Peter George agrees with you, JP. $299,999. Carbine's at $365. That's high, Chris. Indy at $301. Anthony's at $362. Anthony, you really like this car. Ross is at $330.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't need to read everybody's bids, but yeah, I mean, I think that it's going.
Shout out.
Yeah, we've got. I think Gerd is at the 345, and he's always getting Yahtzees, so that bodes well for Nicole. The rest of us, maybe not so much, but we will see what happens. What do you guys think this car will bring? Let us know in the comments. And guys, let's hit some thumbs up in the chats. There's more of you in there watching than there are thumbs up. So, and you've stuck around this long, so why not give us a thumbs up? We love you guys, so love us back. Come on, give us a thumbs up. All right, what's the next car on the list? What do we got?
All right, Peter George emailed me the other day this listing. Which is a 1988 Mazda RX-7 SE special edition that is currently on Cars and Bids. And JP, you're going to have to pull up photos for people to be able to understand what it is we're looking at and what Peter George picked. I told Peter, yeah, no problem. And then I immediately asked him why he selected the car. And he basically just laughed in my face. He's like, look at this thing. And he goes, he thought the herd would have fun trying to guess what this might bring and what kind of bozo might be in the market for something that looks this. I mean, it is barely any RX-7 under there, JP. So showing 1,300 miles, but true mileage unknown on a clean Texas title out of, I can't say that, Waxahachie? Waxahachie.
Waxahachie.
Yeah. Waxahachie, yeah. So anyways, yeah, this car apparently still has its 1.3 liter Streetport 13B rotary engine with Turbotonic 70 millimeter turbocharger. I'm guessing it's making some serious horsepower above what it would have come with stock. To me, it looks like a car that's been set up to drift. But I don't know any of that for sure because I, sure as hell didn't read the listing. But JP, just an absolutely goofy car with obviously more money adorning the car in modifications than the car is worth underneath. I will go out on a limb and say that between the brakes and the wheels, you got more than what the car is worth. And then it'll be interesting to try and gauge what we think somebody would pay. Somebody's going to know what all the things that are on there, what they did to the 5-speed, the racing clutch, the electronics, the relays, all the stuff that's listed here, dynamics injectors, coilovers, all the stuff. It's all on there to do a specific job. And I imagine to the right person, it's super cool. But man, compared to the cars we normally cover, this thing is kind of hilarious. It looks like a cartoon. So JP, any love for the drift core? drift crowd. I know that when I landed in Vegas, it was important to you, at least the first couple of years, like 16, 17, 18, you would go out to Stance Wars every year and bring a really cool Porsche that had been lowered on coilovers or its torsion bars. Does this car not remind you of something from Stance Wars, or do you think it's for a different crowd than that?
Yeah, it's definitely that scene, and it's just it's so out of style. I mean, that scene is done, and that's the problem with modding your cars sometimes, is that you know, if they say tasteful mods, well, this is definitely not tasteful mods, unfortunately. Look, it's funny. One of the things the funniest thing that like strikes me on this listing is this guy spent all this money on the kind of like fake Liberty Walk type stuff. And then you get to the interior, and he's got the stock plaid seats from the 80s. It's like, why doesn't this have like Recaro, you know, Sportsters or pole positions or something like that? Look at this.
It took him off, and he kept them, JP. They're in his garage right now, going into his next build.
I think he just ran out of money. He lost his job at Subway. You know, his parents kicked him out of the basement, and that's why he has to sell his, you know, prized possession. This is a 28-year-old or 34-year-old guy with spiky hair that still, you know, listens to, you know, Jane's Addiction or something like that. I don't know. This guy or Eminem wannabe, he needs money to get his own place for his first apartment. What do you think, Nicole?
You nailed it on what I was thinking about the interior. Is like, why does it still have this gross stock interior if you intended to do drifting or something else? Like, the interior does not go with the car. The car looks ridiculous. It has all this cheap bolt-on wide body crap. Have you seen the hood scoop? Like, listen, it's not centered. My eyes can't handle looking at it straight on. It's like off to the driver's side, and there's probably a practical reason for that, but it just doesn't look pleasing. It is so hard to look at. It only has 3 bids. Somebody in their early 20s who's dumb enough to fall for it is going to buy it, but honestly, I mean, I know that the 13B rotaries are really sought after. There's a craze, right, for the Mazda motors. So I get that part of it, but just because you put money into a car does not mean you're going to get it out. And it does not mean that somebody else is going to appreciate it. I think it should have been on Craigslist. I think this is a hunk of crap. And I think those 3 people are not going to spend more than $18,000. Am I allowed to say a price yet?
Sure, go ahead.
All right,
no.
You go.
Well,
Deep goes first, but yeah.
Deep can go last. Deep can go last this time.
I go last. Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to max out at $18,000 because I think it's a hunk of crap, and I would be shocked. Honestly, I would pay like $1,500 for that car.
Steve, what do you think?
So, JP, our car is sitting at $16,000 on just 3 bids, and it closes tomorrow. The thing that's amazing about where it sits right now is when Peter George picked it for us, I was thinking in my head $7,500. But clearly, there's some pieces in this car that outweigh the value of what we're looking at from just a silhouette standpoint. Sitting there, you know, with this car, somebody wants this car. And they can wrap it in their own colorway and put their cool seats in it. And then my guess is that this car has some trick parts that are worth the money because the bid is already higher than what I've imagined it was worth. The thing that's alarming is that it only has 3 bids, and I don't think it's going any further really than where it's at. I'm actually going to come in under Nicole at $17,500. And JP, before I hand it back to you, I know you said that this car is out of style and the scene is dead. My godson was go-karting competitively at Sears Point, and the go-kart track is up the hill. On the main track was these guys drifting and 1,000 horsepower builds and all this stuff. John, there were over 100,000 kids at the track, and there were thousands of cars just like this at Sears Point this last weekend. For 3 days, they sold out the track, and it was just RVs and modded cars with like all missing body panels and no hoods, and just the sound of cars doing their drift thing overran the noise at the go-kart track, which is at least a mile away. So it's definitely not dead. It's just not our back.
I didn't say that there isn't a car, like there's still a drift scene, but this car is out of style even for that genre. There are lots of cars
yeah.
that look like this in that scene because they're left over. The new cars are being built in a different way. They don't look like this anymore. This style, this is out of style. Yeah, hell yeah. You go to
holy man,
there's
JP, so many cars.
Tons of the kid. I think they're you had mentioned earlier.
I want to say one more thing, though, before you start doing your prediction, because nobody talked about this, but did you notice that the gauge cluster was replaced and it says 1,300 miles? Oh, TMU. No, you can't claim that because you know how many miles were on this car before you changed the gauge cluster, and why not disclose that? You should say, it has 150,000 miles on it, but now it says 1,300. I mean, this car is not old enough to be a TMU. In my opinion,
TMU is better than 350,000 miles.
So
that
they're
is
hiding
not
something.
that is not uncommon. I think that's a good take. Absolutely. Deeb, you'd mentioned or when you first mentioned the car that it's got more. The parts on it are probably worth more than the original car. He definitely spent more money on those parts than the car was worth, but that doesn't mean it's if this car were stock, I think, like if it were a stock 1988 RX-7 with that interior, with a plaid interior, and nothing changed at all. It looks like it was originally white or something like that. This could be a $25,000-$30,000 car if it had low miles. People want stock 80s sports cars, and they want these. You're right, Nicole. Finding anyone to work on one of these rotary engines is next to impossible these days, but people do still like the rotary engines. But this car, I don't think it's going to get a single other bid. So whatever it's at now is what it's getting. I think that's it. I think 3 bidders FTS. Or is it
interesting?
Is it no reserve?
16,000 JP. That's your bid, and I think that's a good take. You have as good a shot as anybody today on that one. So there you go.
All right,
Thank you, Peter, for picking the ugly dog award. Peter George, thank you. That was good.
Peter George, single-handedly ruining bid nerds. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Yes.
All right, what else we got? What's the next car on the list?
All right, JP, I think you picked this one. I normally pick these for you, but it's a 1973 Volkswagen Thing. John, I don't want to point it out right now, but does this car have a Type 4 motor you could use? And John, don't you have $1,000 deposit on this already? Our car is located out of Quirky, Pennsylvania. It is an 1776 flat 4. Sourced from JCS Volks machine and installed under previous ownership. So is that an upgrade from the stock motor, or is that just a replacement motor, John? Was a stock motor 1,800 cc's on these?
No, these would have come with a 16 or a 15.
So it's got a little bit of an upgrade. It's got some aftermarket wheels, and what else can I tell you? Let's see. It looks like there's a roll cage in there and some aftermarket seats. This is a very interesting thing. Pun
intended. It's a very interesting thing.
It is, absolutely. JP, the thing that alarms me as I'm looking at the photos is underneath, is that corrosion that we're seeing underneath. They took at least one good shot of the frame underneath the car, and it just looks like it spent a lot of time outside near moisture. Look, I think these are awesome. I can't wait till you get another one and we go have some fun in it. But I don't know enough to speak to these and tell you with a critical eye what I'm looking at, if it's good or not. So tell us why you picked this car. Tell us what you love about things in general, and then we'll get into the bidding. I want to hear your opinion before I give my final number, because this one doesn't – I don't like this one at all. But you selected it, so what's up?
Yeah, I mean, it looks. We haven't seen a thing in a while on the show, so I wanted to. I came across this one. I thought it'd be fun. It is not stock enough for me. I don't mind modding one of these. I think they really are fun off roads and stuff like that. But I think the style of mods that they went with here just doesn't suit the car. Those silly wheels and the bumper and the height, it's like they raised the car with these deep dish street wheels, when if you're going to raise a thing, these things are fantastic off-road. People don't realize just how well these perform in the mud and the dirt and crawling over rocks and in the sand stuff, because the engine's in the back. It's sitting right over the drive wheels. They actually get quite a bit of traction. It's not four-wheel drive or anything like that. It's not good. But, when I owned mine, one of my favorite things to do when I still had it in the Northwest is we'd go out on the trails and we'd climb up some mountain, and there'd be like 15, Jeep JKs all up there, and they'd all be like looking at me like, how the F did you get that thing up here? They've got their, Rubicons with their lockers and all that kinds of stuff. And my little two-wheel drive stock thing just went everywhere. So, it's got street wheels on what should be kind of an off-roady type thing. So it just doesn't match. The 73s were fun because these have the gasoline heater you definitely don't want to use, because it may or may not burn you alive. And having a little bit more poop in the engine is great. As far as the underside of this thing, it does look like it has surface rust, but it doesn't look like it's corroded. A lot of times these have the longitudinals or whatever, however you say that word, are pretty crusty, and the floorboards rust out and stuff like that. But this one looks solid. It just has that surface on it. So I think you could return this thing to glory pretty easily by putting the right set of wheels and maybe a stock bumper on it. The one thing that always drives me nuts though too is that these convertibles like this, they look so much better with the top down, and it's so much more romantic driving one of these with the top down. Deeb, you've been in mine with the top down and the front windshield folded down, going down the Las Vegas Strip. It's like the whole
with
world
the heat.
The whole world turns itself into an amusement park ride. It's like, it's like you're sitting in a bucket and everyone wants to smile and laugh at you. If you see one of these driving down the road and it doesn't make you smile, you're a bad person. It's like someone not smiling when they see a puppy. They're just
I have a
so
Porsche
much
for
fun.
you.
Yeah. So Nicole, what do you think of the thing?
Well, I think that the seats look like they would have come out of, something that you'd put into a Jeep, like a CJ7 or something. That style of suspension seat just, to me, doesn't look like it goes with the vehicle.
Yeah, those are Baja seats for sure.
Yeah, and the ratio, like with the wheels, tires, how much or how little up travel, everything just looks wrong to me for it, but it doesn't look difficult to reverse it back. So I think there's potential for this car. Also, I want to know, is this what was the result of the Porsche 181, type 181, JP? Is this the result?
No one has ever found the other four. There's only one in existence that we're aware of. Just for the record, I did not get screwed on the Volkswagen Thing. I did receive my $1,000 Volkswagen Thing right here. So thanks again to Andy Stahl. Dave Hughes. This was the Germans' Jeep in World War II, right? That's the Kugelwagen. Very similar, but not almost. But yeah, definitely go to the Cars Unknown or Der Fascination YouTube channel and look up our film about the rare Porsche Type 181. That is literally an incredible story. But that's a whole other story. What do we think this little kind of messed up but not ruined Volkswagen Thing will bring?
All right, JP, with 2 days left to close, our car is sitting at $8,000 on just 11 bids. I think it's got maybe 50% more to go. I'm going to give you a final bid of $12,181, where I think it will sell. We have seen nice things bring in the high teens, and we've seen, arguably collectible things bring in the mid-20s. I don't think this falls into either of those categories, and that's where I'm going to hedge my bet. $12,181 to you, JP. What do you think it will bring?
Where's it at now? I'm sorry, I totally missed that.
8,000 on 11 bids with 2 days left to close.
And is there a reserve on this one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think this thing. We keep saying thing. I'm gonna. I'll go 14,181. It's someone with vision is going to have to buy this thing. It is solid, so if someone can see that, hey, swap the wheels, swap the seats, you're good to go. You could have a lot of fun with it. What do you think, Nicole?
I think that you guys are terribly too low, because I think that this visually looks really great. It just at first glance, it's super cute and fun looking, and those are super easy things to overcome. Seat, wheels, I would be thinking that if I was a buyer. So I think that this is actually going to get up to about 21.
Whoa,
21 grand. Yeah.
She's the high bidder. Like the herd is at 14, 13, 11, 11, 15, 15, 12, 13, 12, 10, 11.
Because you got
So
2 days left,
high.
and there's quite a few bids already on this thing. Not a lot of
Wow,
comments, but I think
Anthony, you taking a dig at me there. I see what he's doing. There's a lot of things on the market right now. I've been, because this is actually something that I look for regularly. Fans of the show are aware of that. People are asking 20 grand for these all over the place for way nicer ones, and they're not getting it. I'm seeing them just sit. This is unfortunately, the Volkswagen world is not like the Porsche world or other classic cars. The people that are into Volkswagens don't have any money. They never do, unless it's something super, super, super rare and super, super, super original. Like if you had a split window.
I probably should have bought a Volkswagen then.
Like that. Yeah. They're a lot cheaper to work on, that's for sure. But, the last Super Bowl, there was like 4 commercials that had things in them. Like things, like the most iconic vehicles of all time seem to be the Volkswagen Thing, the Porsche 911, and a Cybertruck. I mean, and you show anyone the shape of any of those 3 cars, and they're going to know what it is. Maybe a Jeep CJ too. But people just love these. They are just a happy, happy, happy vehicle, and I hope the guy gets all the money for it, and hopefully this is a bright spot in the car market, and we are seeing that a lot of cars are still doing well on Bring a Trailer. Maybe not as much on other platforms, and certainly not on Marketplace. If you go on Facebook or Craigslist or any of those places where cars are sold, stuff just isn't moving. It seems like the auction sites is about the only place that's getting anything done. But what do you guys think this Volkswagen Thing will bring? George Condor, 297,000. Oh wait, he's saying that's the Diablo. Sorry.
Yeah. Look, read the thing by Racer 98 really quick, JP. He says, bummer to watch the 3 hosts rip up that FC 3S RX-7. Sad. As someone like myself who has seen MSO non-title RX-7s and buckets, really nice ones, dude. This one will easily sell for more than 25. Just naivety. That's all it is. We don't know the car well enough to have recognized the game that is out there, and we shall see if you are right. Racer 98 with his bid at 25. I hope Randy B is catching that. So thank you, Racer 98, for informing us, because we don't know. We're just idiots.
And I don't want to. I mean, it's like it's one of those scenes that I'm just not interested. I mean, you go down to SEMA here in town, and it's full of all the kids that want that stuff, and that's fine. It's great. It's a great. I don't begrudge silly, fun early cars. I mean, God help me, some of the cars that I had when I was young and couldn't afford something better. But if it gets them into the car scene, they'll ultimately graduate into something else as they get older. But I just think that particular car just seems that engine, that powertrain, that build is probably worth the $25,000. The rest of it, who the hell knows? But I know that just looking at that. Anyways, let us know what you guys think. And this weekend is Cars Un Cafe here in Las Vegas. So if you are going to be here Sunday morning, make your way down to the Good Wolf in the Arts District and see all your friends, and classic Porsches and other European cars will be out there. There'll be coffee and cool stuff at the Good Wolf. So come on down and check that out. And if you're not in Las Vegas, but you really want to go to Cars Un Cafe and you're in San Francisco, you're in luck, because where is Cars Un Cafe in San Francisco this weekend?
Yeah, JP. So we are returning to the place where we did the show last month, which is, let's see, how do I say this? The Seaplane Adventures building, which will be the future home of Piccino Salagua, an Italian restaurant from San Francisco. They have an Airstream out there that is a coffee truck that is our anchor for the show in their parking lot. We are right on the water in the right at the cusp of Sausalito and Mill Valley. Come and join us this weekend. I have it on good authority that Chris Carbine from Carbine Motor Cars in New Orleans is going to be coming out there. JP, I'm going to tease a little bit ahead. We're going to have, I think, the 911 Dakar, the Rothman's car is going to be back out there. I think we have an RS America coming. There's whispers of a Singer, and we may have a bright yellow Ferrari 246 GT Dino coming out. So I have been teased ahead that I'm going to have apparently the greatest collection of cars of all time. We shall see. Come out there and see if it happens.
Well, it sounds like I will be there. And then Anthony at Our Smiths wants us to come up to Boise. We'll try to make that happen. Excuse me, got those darn hiccups again. We'll try to make that happen. Nicole, what's going on with you this weekend? Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I'm trying to get to Laguna Seca on. I want to leave tomorrow, but I'm on this wait list for. The event is full, and I am not fancy enough to like squeeze.
Don't
my
they know
way
who you
in.
are?
Yeah, apparently not.
Yeah.
Look, I have a really loud car. So
just tell them you were on Bid Nerds. They'll let you right in.
Yeah, I don't know. I might not be going, in which case I'll come to your car's un café. If I don't go to that, I'll come out and join you on Sunday.
Well, and if you do go to Laguna Seca, then stick around Saturday night and come and see us Sunday morning, and then
we'll buy you dinner.
Sunday. We'll buy you dinner and everything.
That would be
Saturday
really
night.
cool. So you're actually going, JP?
Yeah, I'm going to go to San Francisco this weekend, so I won't even be at my own
Now
car.
I'm having FOMO because I don't know if I can get in
if you
or
make
not.
Make it out to Laguna and then come up to San Francisco Saturday night. We'll have dinner together with Chris Carbine.
Look, Speed SF, if you're watching this, I think that's the name of your group. I'm on your wait list. Get me in. Squeeze me in, man. I want to go on your track I want to go on the track on Friday.
Get this
I
girl up to Laguna, you guys.
There.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back. We're gonna try to do a show Sunday because I will be in San Francisco and
that'll be laughable.
Show from
we still have another car though,
maybe
guys.
technically difficult. Do we have another car?
We have another car, the De Tomaso. Don't forget about it.
We don't.
Did you guys cancel that one?
Well, it's out of country. We can talk about it really quick.
Yeah, just pull
talk
it up
about
for
it really
people to
quick.
see.
Still, go look at it. Man. Just go look at it.
So,
it's beautiful.
Show a picture
Yuri, my buddy Yuri selected for us a 1965 De Tomaso Vallelunga, which is a spectacular car. The particular car is in Zandvoort, the Netherlands. And Zandvoort is another hometown to a Grand Prix track. And Vallelunga, the namesake of this particular De Tomaso, is a Formula One track, which I was guessing, I think is in Portugal, could be in South Africa. I can't remember where Vallelunga is. But anyway, they only made a few of these cars. Approximately 50 of them were made for the world, built by Ghia. They're fiberglass. Essentially, it's a gorgeous Ghia Italian design body. And these cars are small, JP. It looks like it's 4/5 the actual size of a real car. And that is because this body is placed on a 1960s era Formula Ford, which would have been an open wheel race car that was feeder series to something like Formula 500 and Formula One or Indy cars back in the day. You would race Formula Ford all around the world to cut your teeth on open wheel racing. So De Tomaso has made a history of making beautiful car designs over somebody else's drivetrains. And in this case, I believe the chassis and the drivetrain, the engine and the gearbox are straight out of an open wheel race car. So these things, I think, weigh like 1,300 pounds, JP. They probably make, 160, 200 horsepower. It's a 1.5 liter overhead valve inline four with twin Webers. So it might only be 150 horsepower, but at 1,300 pounds and with incredible handling, these cars are super exciting to drive. Our car is sitting at $130,000 and it closes tomorrow. Very nice examples of these. And again, there's only 50 of them. And I've seen 2 or 3 at Rafi's shop. Very nice examples of these are now bringing well over $400,000. Even if this is an outstanding example, I don't know that this one will bring 400 on BAT tomorrow, even as a premium listing that's run for like 2 weeks, because it's just so hard to bring cars into the United States. Somebody would do well to bring this car to America and then list it on BAT, and then I think you'd get your 400 grand. But trying to list it out of the Netherlands, JP, I think it's DOA. I'd be surprised if the bidding of this car goes to even 250 tomorrow. And if somebody does, it's because they know they have a direct line to bring it in. But beautiful, achingly beautiful car, JP. Of all the cars that come through Rafi's shop, the 1 or 2 that he's worked on for his clients that own these, it's one of the models I've always wanted to drive. Like, set me loose. If you and I got up at like 6 in the morning and went to Red Rock, I would love to drive this car at Red Rock. I mean, imagine a 914-6 on steroids and you get an idea of what it would be like to drive this.
Yeah, I mean, I think achingly beautiful is the way to put it, but Nicole's dying to jump on this thing. What do you think?
It has a motor out of a Ford Cortina, guys, and a Volkswagen transaxle. Is it a transaxle? It's a mid-engine, right? It's
yeah, engine. But the gearbox in front of it, I'm sure.
It is like this weird, like you said, grabbing parts from all these other cars, and I think it has such a cute little tidy rear end. Go to that rear end. Can you see the rear end?
The back is
It
really
looks
cool.
real
Yeah.
cool. It looks almost like a very small muscle car back there. Like it's really cool.
Nicole, you basically sit on the ground to get in this car. It's lower than a Ghia. It's lower than a 914. I mean, that car is on the ground.
And this is chassis 101. This is the very first of the 50 that were built.
Ooh, that's
so this
good
is a
intel.
very special car. If I know the guys at Audrain are not probably watching this. If they were, I would be thrilled. However, I think this would be a great car for the Audrain Museum because it is the very first one. So I'm pestering them to go buy this. Who knows if they will.
And so D, it's real quick. What do we think it'll bring?
So I didn't think this car would go, but knowing that it's the number one, then there might be a collector here who, like any other car we've looked at, like the Captain America car. There's an ass for every seat, and there's a couple of seats in this, so there might be a couple of asses that fight over it. JP, it should be a $400,000 car. I don't think it's going to get there. I'll give you $330,000 and say that it fails to sell because it just doesn't quite reach ultimate retail value. $330,000 to you.
Yeah, $299 doesn't sell. I don't know anything about them, but just the fact that it's not in country, that's a big problem. What do you think, Nicole?
I think it's a very special car, and I think it's very historically significant, and I think that there is somebody watching this car. And I do believe that this car, it is going to be hurting in that. I mean, the price is just going to be lower because you got to figure out how to get it from Europe, right? There's an expense involved with that. But I think that collector doesn't care. And I honestly feel that this is going to probably go for probably $325,000.
Do you think it sells for that, Nicole?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. Okay.
I
That's
think
cool.
there's people
I think it's
looking
good
at it.
value at that number. It's even, and despite not even, and like, again, I think with the number one cachet, I don't know if it would sell for your number, but if it does, that'd be a great value. So there you go. We'll see what happens. We covered it. There you go. There you go, Yuri.
This car seems like the kind of car that maybe should have been on Hagerty or Somo because those are platforms that handle the transaction. And since you're dealing with a car that's out of country across the Atlantic, then you know someone else has got your back. Bring a Trailer has nothing to do with any of it after the sale. They just take your fee and then put the buyer and seller together. How much vetting does BAT really do of the sellers? Not much. So you're in a situation where you're going, okay, I've got to send $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 to somebody over the Atlantic. I can't put eyeballs in the car. That's just to me just seems just crazy unless the seller is very well known, which I don't even know who's selling it.
So JP, remember we had Ingo on the show and he said that they were starting an overseas office in the Netherlands with a recognized partner. That is this seller, Image Street Classics out of Zandvoort, Netherlands, and they are there's a hyperlink to them being this Vallalunga is now offered by the seller, a BAT local partner in the Netherlands. So this is exactly what Ingo is alluding to. So by that rationale, I think you could bid on this car with confidence. You still have to incur the expense of importation, and you can't fudge the documents when they're coming across the thing. So you're going to pay shipping and tariffs and fees on a retail number, even at Nicole's bid of $320,000. That's going to add up really quickly. It could be another $50,000 in fees, So.
Yep. All right. Let us know what you guys think of the Di Tommaso. Is it going to bring all the money? Somebody going to pay to ship it across the pond, or maybe it'll stay there. Who knows? Let us know what you think. And that is another episode. We'll see you guys Sunday night. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks again, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
Bye, everybody.
Get those words